What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are back on NHL 20 and we'll be doing another career simulation, this one on Jesperi Kotkaniemi of the Montreal Canadiens. Kotkaniemi was drafted 3rd overall in the 2018 NHL entry draft and since then has been a hopeful future solution up the middle for the Montreal Canadiens. So far in his career, Kotkaniemi has played in 115 NHL games and has scored 17 goals and 25 assists for 42 points. In his rookie year with the Canadiens, Kotkaniemi stayed with the team pretty much the whole season, playing in 79 games, but this past 2019-2020 season saw him struggle and be sent down to the minors after appearing in 36 games and putting up just 8 points. Although this season was rough for him in real life, I still think he has a bright future, and because of that, today we will be simulating his career on NHL 20. As always, I will be controlling another team, but having it so that the CPU controls all the signings and trades, so the simulation will be entirely computer automated. After each year, we will be checking in on his stats, as well as if he wins any awards, and now with all this being said, let's see how Jesperi Kotkaniemi is looking heading into year number 1 of this simulation. So heading into the first year of this simulation, Jesperi Kotkaniemi is on Montreal's third line, playing between Paul Byron and Joel Armia. Kotkaniemi is 80 overall with medium elite potential and has some pretty good stats to start off. Kotkaniemi has 87 puck control, 86 deking, and 85 offensive and defensive awareness. Not bad at all, and let's see in this simulation if Kotkaniemi could stay up with the Habs all year long and possibly bring the Canadiens back to the playoffs. Year number 1 sees the Montreal Canadiens barely sneak into the playoffs after finishing 19th in the NHL. Despite being the worst seeded team in the playoffs, they put up a decent fight versus Tampa, falling to them in 7 games. Jesperi Kotkaniemi had a very solid regular season, scoring 25 goals and 35 assists for 60 points, and in the 7-game playoff run put up 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 playoff points. Quinn Hughes takes home the Calder, and Kotkaniemi increases up to an 83 overall. For the second straight season, the Habs finished 19th in the NHL, but this year it was not enough for them to get to the playoffs as they missed them by just 1 point. Jesperi Kotkaniemi with another decent season, this one seeing him score 21 goals and 37 assists for 58 points on the year. Kotkaniemi increases up to an 85 overall, and in the offseason re-signs with the Montreal Canadiens on a 5-year deal worth $6.3 million per year. Montreal in year number 3 falls off quite a bit and drops all the way to second to last in the entire NHL. Despite the team's poor year, Jesperi Kotkaniemi kept his point totals in the same range, and this year he scored 16 goals and 39 assists for 54 points in 77 NHL games. With this, he increases again in overall up to an 87, and hopefully the Habs get a solid pick in the upcoming draft. For the 3rd straight year, the Montreal Canadiens missed out on the playoffs, this time after finishing 23rd in the league. 23rd obviously isn't that great, but they do seem to be back on the rise, so hopefully they continue to get better. Speaking of getting better, Jesperi Kotkaniemi put up his best season yet as he scored 20 goals and 55 assists for 75 points and increased up to a 90 overall. Finally, in year number 5, the Habs are back in a playoff spot after finishing 3rd in the Atlantic and finishing 19th in the entire NHL. In the playoffs, they knocked out the Florida Panthers, but fell in the second round in 6 games to the eventual Stanley Cup champions, the Philadelphia Flyers. Jesperi Kotkaniemi once again had another great season, scoring 20 goals and 64 assists for 84 points, and in the playoffs scored 2 goals and 13 assists for 15 points in 11 playoff games. Kotkaniemi increases in overall once again and is now up to a 91. Before we get into next season, I just want to give you guys a quick update on the roster. As I'm sure you already saw, David Pastrnak signed with the Habs and is now part of probably one of the best lines in the league with Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Troy Tillett. From there on out, they brought in Victor Arvidsson, and the rest of the offense is honestly very solid. On defense, they are definitely weaker, as Victor Mete and Josh Brook are their top pairing, and as for their goalie tandem, they got 284 overalls in Hobson and Menino. For the 2nd straight year, the Montreal Canadiens make the Stanley Cup playoffs, this time after finishing 10th in the league standings. These playoffs were the Habs' best yet in the sim, and saw them knock out Washington and the Rangers, but then go on to lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Leafs in 6 games. The pairing of Pastrnak and Kotkaniemi absolutely exploded this year, and this regular season saw Jesperi score 30 goals and 65 assists for 95 points in the regular season, and in the playoffs he added 13 more points in 17 games and remains at 91 overall. The Habs fell off a bit in the league standings and finished 18th in the league, but it still was enough to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. The playoffs were pretty disappointing though and saw them fall in 6 games to the Carolina Hurricanes. Kotkaniemi in the last year of his current deal scored 24 goals and 60 assists for 84 points and added 4 assists in the playoffs. Kotkaniemi remains at 91 overall and in the offseason gets paid big time. Kotkaniemi re-signs with the Habs on a 7-year deal worth $11.4 million per year. After 3 straight playoff appearances, in year 8 the Montreal Canadiens don't make the playoffs even though they finished 13th in the NHL. Anyway, Jesperi Kotkaniemi played in 76 games this season and in them scored 16 goals and 64 assists for 80 points on the year. Kotkaniemi increases in overall and is now a 92. The Canadiens find themselves right back in the playoffs the following year after an 11th place finish. In the playoffs, the Habs took out the Rangers in 7 games, but in the second round were swept by the Washington Capitals. Kotkaniemi puts up a monstrous season, scoring 23 goals and 79 assists for 102 points, and in the playoffs put up 14 points in 11 games. With all this, Kotkaniemi remains at 92 overall. Year 10 sees the Habs fall off a bit and drop all the way down to 23rd in the league standings. Despite the Canadiens doing pretty bad, Jesperi Kotkaniemi had a great season, scoring 21 goals and 74 assists for 95 points on the year. Once again, Jesperi Kotkaniemi remains at 92 overall. So 10 years in now, Jesperi Kotkaniemi has played in 886 NHL games, scored 226 NHL goals, and 595 assists for 821 points so far in his career. The Habs have been up and down, but Kotkaniemi has been outstanding just about every year, and I'm honestly very surprised he is still yet to win any awards. Hopefully we see him get some sort of personal award soon, as well as a Stanley Cup in the future. The Canadiens bounced back a bit and finished 16th in the NHL and qualified as the lowest seed in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The playoffs saw them go on a nice little run, upsetting the 1-seeded Sens and taking out the Panthers in 5, but falling 1 game away from the Stanley Cup finals to the Hurricanes. Kotkaniemi's regular season saw him score 20 goals and 63 assists for 83 points, and in the playoffs scored 2 goals and 9 assists for 11 points. Kotkaniemi once again remains at 92 overall. The Habs go on to have their best regular season yet in this simulation as they finished 8th in the NHL. The playoffs weren't as good to them as other years, and they fell in 7 games to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. Jesperi Kotkaniemi had an almost identical regular season to last year as he scored 20 goals and 64 assists for 84 points, just 1 more assist than last year. In this playoffs, he had 1 goal and 4 assists for 5 playoff points, and Kotkaniemi still remains at 92 overall. For the 3rd straight season, the Canadiens put together a decent regular season and again make the playoffs, this time after finishing 12th in the league. The playoffs again saw them fall in the first round in 7 games, this time to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Detroit Red Wings. Kotkaniemi, like usual, with a good season, this one seeing him score 24 goals and 64 assists for 88 points on the regular season, and in the playoffs he had 3 goals and 4 assists. For the 6th straight year, he is still a 92 overall. Just like that, the Habs are once again out of the playoffs as they have an off year and drop to 20th in the league. Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the last year of his current deal was healthy all year long and put up 24 goals and 53 assists for 77 points on the year. Although the Habs were nothing great this season, Kotkaniemi won the Selke but did drop to a 91 overall. Like I said earlier, this was the last year of his current deal, and in the offseason Kotkaniemi re-signs again with the Habs on a 4-year deal worth $12.3 million per year. The Habs get quite unlucky, and despite finishing 14th in the league, they do end up missing the postseason. Like the Canadiens, Jesperi Kotkaniemi ended up getting a little bit unlucky as well and missed 11 games due to injury. In the 71 games he did play in though, he did score 12 goals and 52 assists for 64 points, and with this we do see him drop a little bit in overall down to an 88. The Canadiens continue to be on the decline as they fall to 27th in the league and miss the playoffs for the 3rd straight year. Jesperi Kotkaniemi is also on the decline as in a full 82-game regular season he scored 16 goals and 43 assists for 59 points. Not bad at all, just not what we were used to seeing him put up, and with this he drops in overall again down to an 84. The Canadiens end up having an even worse season than the one before, finishing 1 spot back and 28th in the league. 35-year-old Jesperi Kotkaniemi scored 8 goals and 42 assists for 50 points on the year and drops to an 83 overall heading into the last year of his current deal. Montreal makes some good progress in year 18 and sees them finishing 18th in the league, but sadly it still was not enough to make the playoffs. Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the last year of his current deal played in 77 games and in them scored 13 goals and 32 assists for 45 points and remains at 83 overall. In the offseason, Kotkaniemi decides to move on from Montreal and signs a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with the Vegas Golden Knights. Signing with Vegas definitely seemed like a good decision for Kotkaniemi as they went on to finish 3rd in the entire NHL. The playoffs were great, but heartbreaking at the same time as the Vegas Golden Knights fell just 1 game short of the Stanley Cup to the Carolina Hurricanes. Kotkaniemi had a nice bounce back season, scoring 15 goals and 53 assists for 68 points in the regular season, and in the playoffs had 8 points. Kotkaniemi drops to an 80 overall, and in the offseason signs another 1-year deal in the desert, but instead with the Arizona Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes had a solid regular season, finishing 14th in the league, and once again Jesperi Kotkaniemi will play some playoff hockey. The playoffs are even more heartbreaking as they were the year before, as this time the Coyotes lose in the finals to the Montreal Canadiens. You can't make this shit up. Anyway, Jesperi Kotkaniemi played in just 70 regular season games and put up 14 goals and 36 assists for 50 points on the year, and in the playoffs had 9 points in 20 games. Kotkaniemi drops to a 78 overall and decides to call it a career and retire, and after a finish like that, I really can't blame him. So after 21 NHL seasons, Jesperi Kotkaniemi played in 1,674 NHL games, scored 392 goals and 1,097 assists for 1,489 career points. In Montreal, he didn't win anything with the team, but he did take home the Selke Trophy one year, and as we just saw, the hockey gods screwed him over as he heads to the finals twice, loses both years, one of the defeats at the hands of the Montreal Canadiens. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know who you guys would like to see next, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.